A Halloween 2018, 1 year later. When I reviewed this film, I gave it an A+. After a year's worth of time and seeing this film a few more times, I'm gonna have to change it to a B. Still a good movie, but it's not what I thought it was. It was excitement of a new Halloween movie, life after the remake, but upon rewatching, the flaw, even though it's still good, the flaws become more evident. Like the misplaced humor. Acting is good, but the characterizations just aren't always the best in this film, although I like how they treated Michael. I'm going to go ahead and say it was kind of pointless to shoot off 3 of his fingers. I don't like that. The characterization of Laurie, I feel like they couldn't figure out whether they wanted the more damaged, neurotic Laurie from Halloween H2O, or they wanted a just kick butt, confident, headstrong prepper, I'm ready for Michael type, and it's like they just, let's mash the two together. And upon reflection, I don't think those two aspects really mesh well. You could have had her damaged without being that neurotic. Her daughter is... The world isn't a scary place. There's happiness, sunshine, and rainbows. That's what it is. Yeah, the daughter was kind of annoying, and then little things like how she mentioned learning how to shoot a gun at 8 years old like it was a bad thing. And a lot of families that have guns, they'll teach their kids at a relatively young age, just because teach them gun safety, teach them... I've known people who have learned around 9 or 10 years old how to shoot. Their parents would get a low caliber rifle, teach them how to shoot it, put the rifle up where they don't have access to it, but yeah, I'm gonna have to fault that too. The character of Dr. Sartain, why I don't hate him, I believe he was hugely mishandled, as well as there's some of the odd-placed humor, like the banter between the two cops, although I can believe these two do kid and aggravate each other, like the scene with the chocolate pudding and the brownie. I like to think that was probably that officer's, and this is me putting too much thought into it, that officer's dessert, and he had a more nutritious lunch, and he was just aggravating his partner. But the scene was just, the tone was just so out of place with what the movie was giving us. And even like the Laurie Strode's son-in-law, after they're in the house and they're hunkering down in case Michael's showing up, he's walking through the house like playing with a yo-yo. Again, it's stupid, misplaced humor. That's the character you want to reach through the screen, slap him, and tell him to be serious, and why that decision was made baffles me. It did have some good things. I liked the whole cat and mouse aspect once Michael gets in the house. Michael's still intense and scary, but at the same time, we don't need scenes also where another character wears Michael's mask. That should never happen. It's like they wanted to make Michael a normal person again, but yet they still give him supernatural aspects. Like a 60-something-year-old man that has like 3 fingers blown off is not going to go on to do the things Michael did. But when we she grabs or bites or whatever she does to Michael's hands where the blast mark is, we hear a noise from Michael, which again, we should never hear. It's like they wanted to remove they couldn't figure out whether they wanted to keep the supernatural aspects or remove them, so let's make it more ambiguous and mesh them together more. And there's just a lot of points where it felt like, do we do this or that? Oh, let's just do a little of both. Don't get me wrong, I still like the movie, but my takeaway is it just hasn't aged as well over a year, and I am more understanding of more of the criticism to the movie now than I was when I seen the movie. And I still contest this should have been the final one. Michael and Laurie both should have died at the end of this movie. But since we're getting Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, here's hoping Halloween ends with both Laurie and Michael dying and a decent end to the franchise. Then you can take it, you can hopefully reboot it again better, or better yet, just leave it alone for a while until you come back with a reboot that can feel fresh and original. I don't know, but it's still a good movie, and there are good things in this film. There's a good foundation for the next two movies to build on, and it's one of those things where it can only get better from here or worse. I'm hoping it gets better, that they take this foundation, throw out the stuff that didn't work, tighten up on the stuff that did work, and introduce newer stuff that does work to improve on it. Just don't get lazy with the next two films. I will be seeing both of them opening day if I can help it. I am a fan of the franchise, and another thing I do love how on point the cinematography was in this. Keep that. This film, the best compliment I can give this film is it, for a large point, had a timeless feel. If you remove cell phones and modern cars, this film could easily feel like it takes place in the 90s. And it was another aspect I liked, but hopefully we get more of the good and less of the bad in the sequel, as I already said. But that's my thoughts on how well it holds up after a year. The film bumped from an A+ to a B. So don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Over and out.